Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our 37th edition of the Sunday webinar. Now, over the last few years, we have seen AI evolved rapidly from the predictive model to generating systems that can create content, code, and decision at scale. Now, of late, right, we have seen that we are entering in the next phase of AI, that is the agentic AI, a system that don't just respond but can plan, act, and make decisions autonomously to achieve the goals. And everywhere you see, everyone is talking about agentic AI, AI agent, I have built my agent, etc., etc. But to be very honest, right, many of us, in fact, maybe the way we were kind of quote unquote illiterate in the beginning of AI, where it came as a disruption, the same applies to agentic AI at this point in time. Many of us may be having some high level or superficial idea about the AI or agentic AI to be precise, but not many of us are having a detailed understanding of, right, what is agentic AI all about, right? How can we build it? What is the technology? What are the guardrails, right? What is the governance, right? How can we do all those stuff? So we thought this is a great time to bring that topic in, that how to make an agentic AI or agentic system responsible AI compliant. So how to make an agentic system responsibly, right, AI compliant. Now this shift is powerful, but it also changes the risk landscape. Now, unlike traditional AI or rule-based automation, because the automation has also undergone a huge level of transformation, and we'll talk about it. Now, agentic systems introduce autonomy, adaptability, and multi-step decision making, which makes questions of accountability, transparency, and control far more complex. Now, at the same time, organizations are under increasing pressure to ensure that the AI systems are responsible, compliant, and aligned with the evolving global governance framework. So we are hitting a crossroad where we have on one side a huge demand of innovation, right? On the other way around, we are seeing a need of the governance framework so that it should not go haywire. So we must do certain trade-offs, right, to make sure that yes, we are infusing innovation, but at the same time within a little bit of governance. So that brings us right to a critical question. How do we design the agentic system that are not just intelligent, but also responsible by design? So with this brief context, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker for the session, Dr. Anindita Deshorkar, director in an renowned multinational company. Now, Anindita is a highly accomplished IT professional and dedicated researcher with 21 plus years of software industry experience. She holds a PhD in computer science and engineering from Jadavpur University, specializing in outlier detection using machine learning. Now, her focus area include generative AI, agentic AI, predictive maintenance, and AI-based optimization. Now, Anindita has filed 8 patents on these advanced AI domains and has authored over 23 publications in international journals and the conferences. Now, her industry experience includes leading key client engagement across healthcare, finance, and mining as an architect. So we welcome Anindita, and it's a great honor and privilege to have her right in this conversation. Now, let's get into the discussion. So before we actually go deeper into the technology part, let us try to set the stage. Now, if we look at the evolution of the automation over the last couple of decades, it's almost like watching systems grow up. We have seen, right, RPA, robotic process automation, where bots allowed strict predefined rules, great at repetitive tasks, but completely dependent on the instruction. Then came intelligent automation, where systems could handle the slightly more complexity by combining rules with data-driven decision making. Now, more recently, generative AI that changed the game by enabling the systems to create, whether it is content, code, or conversation, making AI far more interactive, democratized, and accessible. But here is where things took a or take a real leap. We are now moving towards agentic AI, the systems that don't just follow instruction or generate output, but can set goals, plan steps, use tools, and take actions autonomously to achieve the outcomes. So, to ground our audience, my request to Anindita, could you please help us clearly differentiate agentic AI from generative AI, RPA, and intelligent automation, not just in capability, but also in intent and autonomy? Over to you, Anindita.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shubhabroto, for inviting me today's webinar, and thanks for all the participants for making time in joining that one. And as Shubhabroto already, told about the differences between agentic AI, RPA, generative, and all these things. Just like few examples, by few examples, I want to show like how agentic AI is different from the other ones. Like today, maybe we are planning for a vacation, so what we need to do, like we need to book a hotel, we need to see first like the in that place, maybe some place Kashmir we have planned, so we need to check like which suppose I have 7 days in my hand, so which locations or which are the places I can cover, because definitely I cannot cover all the places. Then all these places I need a plan, like so that I can basically cover it in an optimized way. And also then need to see like what are the hotels available within my budget, and then whether those hotels are, have the capacity to accommodate all the people. Like this, all these requirements, we have all the requirements. So but if we give to the agentic AI, or if we give to the generative AI rather, so what we'll do, so first we'll go search like Kashmir, like what are the places are there? One prompt will give. It will give us like few places. Okay. Then based on my whatever days I have, again I need to give another prompt, or within one prompt also I can write. But this will give us all the answers. Like these are the places. These are the option A. Like this you can plan. Option two, like you can plan like this.
Correct.
Now again it will give us another answer, like these are the hotels nearby your spot. Again it will give another answer or recommendation, like okay, these are the budget hotel, all these things.
Right.
So all the things it will give us the recommendations, a set of
So to keep
recommendations.
on creating the
Yes,
itineraries, right, in a defined manner. Yep.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the next again what we need to do, okay, now I got all the information, I need to check like what option is more feasible for me.
Right.
Then based on that I can go for booking the hotel and booking for other things.
Correct.
So this is basically generative AI. Like, this way we can plan our vacation, but we can understand there are associated multiple steps and human intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every step we need to basically understand the answer, and based on that we can give our feedback and then go for the next step and do the steps. It's basically not doing the things, it's not taking the actions, it's only giving us the recommendations. That's the thing for generative AI. But for the agentic AI, if we now create an agentic AI system like vacation planning or all these things, so what it will do basically, as we know, first it will plan. So agentic AI system first module is the planning module. So it will plan us like vacation. If vacation is the goal I need to achieve, then like what are the based on my dates, what are the suitable places? Maybe it is Kashmir, Nainital, or some places. The second agent, maybe it will plan like second agent will do like in these locations what are the different budget hotels are there, and another agent will be there like it will plan or it will basically check well how it can be booked, like and what are the different other things it can be planned. So based on my task, first it will create separate independent agents based on the goal or task to accomplish. So that is the planning step, planning, and based on that agents will be created, separate
Basically,
agents.
some of the chain of agents will be there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically what they will do, now the tool calling is coming into the part, coming into the
Mm-hmm.
scenario. Like first one agent is created like the hotel booking agent. So it
Right.
will search all the hotels in that location, within the budget, that constant will be there. within the budget, like what are the available ones, and basically return that result. So that agent work is basically searching the hotels and give us the feasible options. Then again the third agent will come into picture. It will take all these results and it will basically check whether other things are feasible or not, and it will go for booking. It will ask for the payment information on all these things from the user. Yes, some security checks definitely needs to be there, and after that it can basically interact with the hotel booking system and it will book for us. So now we can easily understand the difference for the generative AI, because it will give us a set of recommendations. Based on that, human will work. Actual work will be done by the human us. But here, yes, it is taking few approvals, like it is asking for the payment information. We need to check whether in the proper places we are giving or not. But the actual work is done by the agentic system. It is booking the hotel from our side. It is basically interacting with the managers, hotel managers, or all these things, because it is doing the call. It is telling us about our preference and all these things. Then it is doing the booking. So from first to last, like searching the hotels, searching the locations, and also finding the feasible options to booking the hotels. Actually, the full planning is done and the execution is also happening. That's the difference. For generative AI, it's only planning, but here it is planning plus execution of the plan is happening here. So that's the difference between the generative AI and agentic AI and other things here.
Okay, brilliant. So it is taking a step further, right, than the recommendation or the content creation. It is also acting like a quote unquote a personal assistant, right, who will be taking our approval, right, understanding our need, and based on that, it will not only come up with the recommendation, but it will also complete the flow, right, by doing the executional part. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, one of the challenges right now is that the term agent is being used quite loosely, and sometimes we have seen that the purpose is often getting diluted because everyone is talking about, oh, I'm building an agent, right? But really, are they knowing, right, what is an agent, right? The way you have explained, right? So, and they are not able to differentiate, to be very honest. Now, almost every AI powered workflow is starting to get labeled as an agentic AI. But if we take a step back, most traditional systems we have worked with before, whether it is a recommendation engine or a fraud detection model or even a chatbot, are still largely reactive. That means once we tell them, they will do it. They cannot think or take an action on their own. They wait for an input, process it, and return as an output. Now, let me give an example. Let's say Netflix. Now, unless you are already a registered user, or you have seen couple of movies, it will not be able to understand your choice and it cannot give you the recommendation. If you are first time user of Amazon, it does not know your buying pattern, right, from your historical, since you don't have a history. So it cannot suggest you any right buying pattern or buying recommendation. If you're a first time user in Zomato, they don't understand what is your eating pattern, what is your liking. So they cannot give the recommendation based on your need. Now, compare that with what we are beginning to see in tools like AutoGPT or Microsoft Copilot in more advanced setup. Now, let me give you one of my personal experience. Now, in our organization, we have got the Microsoft Copilot license version, right? So, which many times, like for some important meeting, we take the transcript and we tell, instead of again creating the MOM, right, or creating the data analysis, we give it to the Chat GPT or Microsoft Copilot to do the same thing. So it is not only doing what I'm asking for, but it is taking a step further and it is telling me, okay, can I generate a data analysis report for you? Can I generate a PDF for you? Do you want me to create a PPT or in a tabular format? Do you want me to come up with some pictorial infographic or representation? So it starts thinking that what could be my future need, right, apart from the recommendations or whatever I'm asking for. So that's a very different behavior pattern now. Now, a helpful way to think about it is a traditional AI only answers question, as you rightly said. But the agentic AI system figure out what questions to ask next and act on them, exactly what you mentioned. So the distinction is no longer just about the intelligence, it's about the initiative, planning, and the ability to operate across multiple steps and the tool. So my question on this context, Anindita, would be what exactly qualifies as an agentic system? Is it applicable for everything, or and how is it fundamentally different from traditional AI model or automation? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all the context. Yes, like this is a very valid question nowadays because everywhere everybody is using agents for every system. So as we already talked about, first we need to understand like what is agentic system, and it's not only about using that one. We need to know whether we'll get the ROI from that return of investment or not. Because whether
Absolutely.
it will be exactly useful or not. Otherwise, agent is definitely costly. There are lots of tokens
Correct.
are there. So
Right.
it's planning, it's other steps, every memory or tool, everything is there. It's not free. So whether we'll get the proper benefit from there or not, we need to understand. So the first step is always I say like the use case selection.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like blindly using the agentic system for everywhere because
Brilliant.
otherwise it will not do any purpose. So first once we get the use case, we need to analyze first like whether it is suitable for the agentic system or not.
Right.
So when we are doing the analysis, first need to understand one important thing is like the tool calling, how the tool calling will be. Now the source data, I mean how many source data we have to connect and how many data pre-processing, all these things are there. Suppose if only it is only a one two source data we need to connect, or it is very structured data, there is no use of such that using that agentic system.
Absolutely. Yep.
So that the thing is that if we have to after analysis, if we see we have many source data there, like
Mm-hmm.
from and different site we have to take the source data, and
Mm-hmm.
they have the different structures, something structured, something unstructured, semi-structured, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can think about the agentic system because tool calling will give us the benefit.
Correct.
That's the thing.
Right.
So and the second thing is again the memory. We have the persistent, we have the capability of using the persistent memory in agentic system because we need to store all the information, we need to do the analysis, then we need to give the other results and everything.
Correct.
So whether our use case demands and all these things, also like the planning we have talked about, so whether it is deterministic or undeterministic,
Right.
whether planning is required or not, if we can see it is a deterministic flow, we know like if it's a if else only,
Mm-hmm.
then there is no use of doing the agentic system.
Correct.
So I think this is a very major framework or major thing we need to decide based on set of features. Like we can map like this, like agentic AI has planning, memory, tool calling, and all these things, 4 5 simple things. Whether our use case will be benefited from all these functions or not, that we first need to analyze. And then if we see okay, based on the use case it is really required, then we go for the agentic system. Because agentic system we need to understand one thing, it's nothing but an orchestration, it's a design pattern, it's
Right.
not a separate technology, it's a
Right.
design pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about all this agentic orchestration. If we have to write the same things in the coding today, we can write it.
Correct.
Definitely it will be a little bit complex, or maybe few lines of extra codes are required, but we can do it
Mm-hmm.
because it will be what, like we have to interact with different source system, it will be different APIs, then we'll get the result, we'll summarize these things and all these things. But in agentic system, like whatever we have different frameworks like LangGraph, TUI or AutoGen, that will be very easier to solve because we have a defined framework. But again, that's I told, for it's not definitely free. Like whatever staging, all these things we are talking, planning, tool calling, everything should be evaluated. Otherwise all other problems that we'll discuss later, like trustworthiness, many things will come into picture. So the summary is, first we need to understand the use case, whether it is feasible for the agentic system based on the characteristics. Then if it is very much deterministic, then I believe traditional system will suffice. There is no need to go for the agentic system. But if only it that situation demands, then only we can go for the agentic one. Yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I really, I mean, you explained it quite well. So we should move away from a FOMO based approach, like fear of missing out. Okay, if I'm not using a right agentic AI, right, I'm
Mhm.
just lagging behind, to a purpose oriented, right, outcome oriented, value driven, right, agentic AI formation. Because, right, as you rightly said, there is a lot of investment going behind the scene. And what is the ROI, right? coming out of it, right? Is it just because, okay, others are using agentic AI, I have to use AI? No, it should be purpose driven. Fantastic. Thank you, Anindita, for this clarification. Now, coming back, next area is the why this matters. Now, if we look at how systems have traditionally behaved, there was always a control, right? It was a built in control. Now, in rule based systems, every outcome was predictable, as you already mentioned, because every path was predefined. Now, even with the supervised AI models, the decisions were still constrained by training data and the human defined boundaries. Let me give an example. Let's say whenever we are going ahead with a banking rule engine, it always block a transaction above a certain threshold. Let's say you are doing a bank transfer. Now, even if I'm making a transfer of 500 rupees, will I get a call from the bank? Never. But once my transfer is beyond 50,000, or maybe a credit card transaction is beyond 50,000, I'll get a call from the bank. So there is a rule set up properly. Now, a credit scoring model may be complex. Now, it still operates within a fixed decision framework. Now, contrast that with more autonomous setup we are beginning to see in the agent-driven workflows like advanced copilot or autonomous research tools. So instead of making a single decision, as you rightly said, it's a chain of things going on. Decide what to do next, choose which tool to use, and adapt their approach based on intermediate result. So if I give a very realistic example, that following a GPS route exactly versus being told, right, get to the destination however you think is the best. But sometimes, even if these flexibilities are very powerful, but it also means that the system can take unintended path. Many times I have seen that it may be a shorter path, but it may take you to a path which is almost unnavigable. So sometimes making compounding decisions or operate in ways which we did not explicitly anticipate. So from that context, Anindita, I would like to ask a question. Why does autonomy increase responsible AI risks compared to the rule-based or supervised systems? Over to you.
Yeah, that's a very, relevant question for the, context of agentic AI. And as we discussed already about the agentic AI, we have seen like different steps are there, like identifying the source system, calling the tools, and then doing basically, keeping it in the memory and then analysis and all these things, evaluation and observation, everything. So if we understand, like in the agentic system there are different decision making parts, decision points, and the more a system will have more failure points if it has more decision points, because it's all about the how many decision points you have.
Agree.
If a system is simple, and if it has less decision points, then it will have less failure points.
Correct.
So the more complex the system will be, the more decision points it will be, then the chances of failure will be increased. That's
Fully
the
agree. Yeah.
single thing.
Mm,
So in agentic system, same thing is happening. Like everywhere we need to chance of everywhere we have the chance of failure, because
mm,
all are probabilistic.
mhm,
Nothing is deterministic. We are first starting with the planning.
mm.
So a task has come to the agentic system, it is doing the planning. Now who is doing the planning? Again LLM. It
Right.
is doing the planning. So it is generating some plan, and based on the plan, the success of the full agentic system will depend. So again, if the planning fails, then the full thing will fail, whatever we do after that. So then again, the first thing, how to validate the planning things, the planning result of the agentic system. Then the second thing, like the tool calling we are talking about, like
Mm,
the connecting with the different sources. There also is not very easy. Easy means, yeah, technically easy. We have the set of tools and we are basically integrating with the tools.
mm,
But what will happen if the correct tool is not selected? What will happen if the order is not selected correctly?
mm.
What will happen if the parameters are not selected?
Right.
So there are too many questions are there in case of tool calling. So tool calling, parameter calling, order of tool calling, everything should be correct. This is
Right.
another decision point two basically, and it's again the failure point.
Mm-hmm.
Decision point means the failure point.
Right.
And the next comes like after the tool calling again, we have the data, we are doing the summarize and all these things. Whether again another decision whether we are summarizing or doing the action based on the user constraint or not. So that is again another thing, whether the constraints are adhered or not. If it is not adhered, again we are not doing the correct thing. Then again comes the memory and all these things. So
Mhm.
here also many complexities can arise,
Right.
like we are keeping all these things in the memory, but whether it is appending properly or it is overriding or something is happening in between, that also need to check. Otherwise, we have seen many times, like we have given some preference many things, but it is not basically recollecting and giving some hallucinated answers. So
Correct.
again, another failure points, like whether memory module is reserving everything or keeping everything in mind and doing the things, like whether it is actually persistent. Then again other things will happen. So these 4 5, these are the decision points, these are the major decision points. Definitely there will be more. And if it is again multiple agents are there, multi-agentic system, again many things will be added. This is what I told about a single agent. Again then agent to agent communication will come, how agent to agent will behave, how their behavior means there will be again more failure points. So all these failure points are the we need to evaluate each and every time. And definitely there are we have the observability frameworks are there, evaluation frameworks are there, that we have to implement that one. And based on that, at least we can reduce the chance of hallucination, we can increase the trustworthiness of the system that way. But again, that's the difference between the risk wise compared to the traditional system, because traditional system is deterministic, their decision paths whatever we told, those are very less, and that's why the failure points are less. And if it is, as it is complex, we have many, it is probabilistic, there are more decision points, so we have the more failure points, and it leads to more risk.
Excellent. Now, it leads to a concept, right, which we very commonly use in Agile, which is called cone of uncertainty, right? Now, as we know, the cone is like that. The smaller the task is, the level of uncertainty is pretty less. It's easier to estimate. But whenever the scope is more, naturally there will be a lot of uncertain area and the estimation will be unpredictable and we may not be able to get to that. So it's kind of right relating to the same thing that whenever the number of complexity or the number of chains are less, right, the failure point decision points are less, the failure points will be less, right? And whenever the decision points are more, naturally the probability of failure will be more. Fantastic. Now we learned about the concept, we learned about the risks. Now we get into the little bit of accountability, little bit of governance, etc. Now, if we look back, accountability in technology used to be relatively straightforward in deterministic area. Now, in rule-based systems, if something went wrong, you could trace it back to a specific rule or a decision point, right? Kind of you said. But even in a traditional AI model, the accountability typically sat with the team that built or deployed the model because the system behavior was still bounded, right, and predictable. But we have already started seeing cracks in that clarity. Now, take incidents like Microsoft Pay chatbot, which quickly spiraled into harmful behavior due to user interaction, or in the initial days of self driving challenges faced by Uber, right? Where the questions of responsibility spanned across developers, operators, or organizational oversight. Now, agentic AI can take this step further because, as you rightly said, here the decision points are more, and the decisions are no longer a single point output. They are the result of multiple inter process communication. So, when something goes wrong, it's harder to pinpoint was it the developer, right, who designed the agent logic? Or is it the deployer who configured this environment and access? Or it is the user who has given the initial goal? Or it is the system owner, right, who enabled this autonomy and the scope? It's a bit like moving from a single driver to a semi autonomous system with multiple control layers in the line of responsibility start to blur. So, from that context, my question to you would be, Anindita, in an agentic system, what is your opinion? Who should be held accountable? Is it the developer or a deployer, right, or user or the system owner? What is your take on that?
Yeah, so that's basically it's a combinational risk because everybody is responsible for that.
Correct.
Because as we know, starting like the design, So that's why we are giving the stress on building itself in a responsible way,
Right.
because from the first day itself, design should be responsible, development should be responsible, deployment should be responsible, and also user, like the usage should be responsible. Everything should be responsible. So when we are talking about the design, like we should have guardrails should be there, we should have the evaluation frameworks, we should have the observability, everything should be plugged with the actual design.
Hmm.
So, and also like the design, like we should not use the, as I talked about, like the unnecessary the agentic system, or we need to minimize the number of agents, or we need to basically evaluate the different multi-agent communication, everything. So in the design perspective, we need to see what we need to do when we are designing the agentic system. And again, the second thing comes the developer, like the when you are basically developing the agentic system, how responsibly we can develop. It's not only about talking, like we need to see actually we are evaluating that one, whether the evaluation result goes to the next step, whether observability is there or monitoring is there, whether the based on the monitoring alerts are sent to the that are I mean proper people, and they can take the actions or not, all these things. And again, this come to the deployment part, whether deployed responsibly, so that part. And also like the users, so users also should understand it's a system, and definitely it should be adhered by specific rules. So those all these things, so everybody is responsible, and basically it should be taken care by everybody, when from starting from the design to the user.
Excellent. So, which means it is not to pinpoint, right, to anyone in particular. It's a collective ownership, right?
Yeah,
Whether it
yeah.
is a developer, right, or a deployer, or a user, right, or a system owner. Like it's a collective responsibility, and everyone should do their job properly, right? And then we can probably get a right good result, and if we can hold all of them accountable. Brilliant. Now, now moving from right kind of you already said that build or design responsibly starting from the beginning. So if we look at how most of the organization has approached responsible AI so far, it is more retrofitting than the built-in. It's more reactive. Now systems get designed, developed, and deployed, and then somewhere toward the end there is a review, maybe a compliance checklist, maybe an audit, maybe a fairness or a biasness assessment, which are having aftermath. Now, we have seen a similar pattern before in other domains also. Let's say security, for instance, used to be something teams tested after building the system until repeated breaches forced the shift towards the security by design. It's like a right shift left again. Now, in the AI world, we have already had moments that expose the limit of alter the after the fact validation. For example, bias concerns in systems like Amazon AI recruiting tool showed that once issues are embedded deep into the system, fixing them later becomes very costly affair and sometimes impractical. Now, with the agentic AI system, this challenge becomes even sharper because the systems are continuously making decisions, as you already said, interacting with multiple tools and data sources, again, you mentioned, and adapting their behavior over time. So, which means you cannot realistically audit your way to responsibility after the deployment. It's like building a car and then asking, can we add brakes afterward? Technically possible, but fundamentally flawed. So, from this context, people would like to hear from you, how do we embed responsible AI principles at the architecture level rather than relying on the external audit?
Yeah, so that's a definitely, I mean, very, I mean, appropriate point, because if we just think about from the beginning, like we are all dealing about the data. So all is we are agentic AI, definitely the brain is the LLM or
Right.
SLM or whatever, some
Mhm.
model. So those things are trained on huge amount of data. So again, this is the first thing. The data should be fair, data should be unbiased.
Right.
This is one aspect. Like we are going to build one responsible AI system, we are going to build one trustworthy system. So first thing is the data should be responsible AI compliant, data should be fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
So other than after that, I mean, if that is not there, whatever we do, it will be very much costly, and definitely we cannot achieve 100% results.
Correct.
So that is again, this is one aspect, like the data that we have to first, once we get the data, so we have to see, like we have to check, we have to analyze like how fair it is, how unbiased it is, and whether it is secured, all these security checks, everything. So that is the first step that needs to be done. So that is one aspect how we can basically implement in the architecture itself.
Mm-hmm.
So data pre-processing stage. So next, coming about the, like once we are accumulating data and all these things, they are also duplicate and other issues like the data masking, PII checks, everything that should be taken care once we integrate multiple systems, everything.
Correct.
Again, if the duplicate issue is there, it can again next some other issues can arise, and definitely it will be, issues will be multiplied. That's why cost will be, if you just don't eliminate these things at the first stage, cost will be must definitely multiplied by something else. So it will not be linear. So once the data part that is done, then again in the design, as I told, like all the responsible AI principles, like three H's, like the honesty, helpfulness, harmlessness, those things should be, we have to basically implement in the design itself. So now again, for honesty should be measured by the, again it is secure, it is reliable, and all other things. Again, trustworthiness should be measured from some other way, like that. So in the next stage, that is like everything, like whatever techniques we are basically adopting, those should comply all these things. And again, also, like each and every stage, like the algorithms, whatever algorithms we basically selecting, those should be trustworthy, and those should be basically very much explainable. That is another very important thing. So if the algorithm itself is not explainable, so we cannot expect explainable result. So that also we need to see, like nowadays another thing, like the neurosymbolic one, like that is coming into picture, because that is related to the trustworthiness. So neurals, because there we can see, like it's not only the neural design, right? Neural design plus the symbolic rules are coming into the picture, so that it is making the result trustworthy that way, because the rules are there. So it's not only the black box of the neural network. So again, that is the implementation from the algorithm side. And then definitely comes the evaluation, observability, those part, like once the design is done, like the observability framework should be implemented to check the data drift, model drift, and all these things, and it should be monitored properly. And different evaluation metrics, not only always the custom, not only always the normal one, some custom metrics also need to be derived based on that specific use case, and so that it can evaluate each and every stage, not only after building and going to the production. After each and every stage, it can evaluate the score, and can, based on that, fine tuning of the application can be done. That's why it's a full iterative process, from basically getting the source data, getting the making the source data reliable, unbiased, to the deployment. So every stage, in this way we can make it responsible AI compliant.
Wonderful. And I can see a lot of smile in Lakshmi and other people who are, right, also myself, like who are also driving agile. So when you said iterative process, right, we keep on revisiting, right, checking the feedback, right, checking the data, checking the different type of metrics, right, as we move ahead, and not exactly big bang approach to do the measurement only at the end, but yeah, it should be a kind of iterative process. Brilliant. Okay, so moving on now, how can we make it more tangible and actionable? Now, as systems become more autonomous, the need of guardrails increases. Earlier, the safeguards were pretty simple: validation rules, access control, and the human approval. But we have seen how things can go wrong. Early chatbots' interaction with ChatGPT exposed risks like unexpected outputs, and experimental agents like AutoGPT have shown how systems can loop or take unintended actions without proper constraint. Now, agentic system don't just respond, right? As we discussed, they decide, act, and interact with the tools. So the risk shifts from what the system says to what the system does. Now, it's like a difference between a car with a lane assist versus a self-driving car navigating open roads. And the latter absolutely depends on strong multi-layered guardrails to operate safely. So my question to you, and I'm sure people would be also eager to know, what are the essential technical guardrails, right? I know you have touched upon some of them, but still, what are the essential technical guardrails required for making agentic systems more compliant?
Yeah, definitely. Like regarding the guardrails, so there are two parts are there. So one is the normal guardrails, like as we have talked like the security, biasness, harmfulness, all related to guardrails. Different implementing different guardrails. Those are basically already some frameworks, some things are there, so we can go there like deep evil is there, ragas is there, many different frameworks are there, and we can implement the guardrails. And also hyperscaler things like the cloud has different guardrails. So but we have seen in our real experience these things are not enough. So there is a second thing is coming like the user specific, use case specific or domain specific guardrails, because that is a new thing that basically based on the requirement we have introduced, because we have seen these things are not enough, that normal guardrails are not enough. So this will be the custom or the specialized guardrails based on the use case. So again, first one, once we get the use case, we'll analyze that one from the use case perspective and the domain's perspective, because we understand if it is a finance domain use case, the guardrails will be little bit different from the healthcare domain, because some extra guardrails things will be required for that one. So definitely based on the domain, based on the use case, first we will see what are the extra guardrails are required. So and based on that we'll design the basically that customized guardrails. So along with the normal guardrails, we'll basically apply those customized guardrails so that a complete all this filtering everything will be done, and that way we can definitely will get much more trustworthy results.
Excellent,
That approach we
excellent.
have taken in our real life scenario. Yeah.
Right. Now, finally, let us try to understand a little bit of right explainability. Now, explainability has always been tricky with AI or in AI, but earlier it was simpler. We mostly asked why did the model make this prediction? A single decision, even if it is complex. For example, systems like Compass raise concerns not just about accuracy, but whether the decisions could be clearly explained. Now, with the agentic AI, it's a different game. Instead of one decision, now we learned throughout our discussion that it's a chain of actions. The system interprets a goal, gathers the data, uses tool, refines output, and then delivers a result. So the question shifts from why this output versus which step in this journey right led to this outcome. It's like explaining one calculator result versus explaining how team arrived at a final decision. So I think last year, or I recently conducted a session right in the Maulana Azad College where it was more of a helping them to understand the k-means clustering. So initially what I showed them, I have just fired a kind of prompt, right, with the table data. And we look for the outcome. And it gave me the outcome immediately. So naturally, I asked the question right to the students that, okay, do you understand what is happening behind the scene? They said nothing. So like you just fired a prompt, you got the result. But what is happening behind the scene? So I refined my prompt. Now, can you explain this with the k-means clustering? What happens behind the scene? And then it came up with everything. Here comes the explainability for me. So my question to you, Anindita, how do we ensure explainability in a multi-step tool using agent workflows? Over to you.
Yeah, that's a very definitely again a very good question, because every day we basically face this issue like how explainable our answer is, because based on that user trust or the business user trust depends, and based on that adoption depends, and all we know like adoption is the final thing. If people don't adopt, then there is no value. So and basically again that is related to the trust and explainability. So there are again three, four things related to the explainability. Like one is definitely, as you told, like there are different stages, and every stage should be explainable. I can give one example, like what we have faced, like RAG. We all are using RAG nowadays. And we have the ragas frameworks to evaluate the rag based architecture. And ragas has the 3 4 metrics are there which gives us the different score like the faithfulness, answer relevancy, and all these things. And everybody asks like we are basically implementing those framework, and we are getting some numeric value for a set of question and answer response. But whatever we have seen, if we use same set of input like the input response context everything, and if we run multiple times the results are varying. Yes, that is one thing, is it is probabilistic, we understand, but we have seen it is varying much. Like for the same one, we are sometimes we are getting zero point 0.3 zero point 0.6 like that. Then the question asked in our mind, if that is the case, how our business user will trust? Because we are telling based on the metric you can trust. If the metrics are also varying, then how people will
Absolutely.
trust?
Absolutely.
Here the question of explainability is coming. Then we understand, like, okay, faithfulness is not exactly one thing. In between, 2 3 steps are there. First, it is understanding the claims in the response. Then it is checking whether those claims can be inferred from context or not, like that. So we thought that time, if we can basically show the result of each and every step to the business user, it will be explainable to them. Now it's not faithfulness only, it's not a numeric value. We are telling, okay, these are the set of claims are available, set of statements are available in your answer. This can be inferred, this cannot be inferred. So anybody can understand, okay, this is the claim or statement. For that, we are getting these results. So that thing is clear to the business user. So that is the explainability part. So whatever algorithm, whatever techniques we're using, if we can show the intermediate results to the user, so it will be explainable. So every the full path, like maybe we are getting the answer X between like A to B, B to C, C to D, and then D to X. So intermediate values we can show to the user how it is happening, it will be explainable to them. And that is one thing. Second thing is definitely like using the explainable algorithm. So few algorithms are black box in nature and few algorithms are explainable, so we
Correct.
can think of using that one.
Right.
And again the next thing is like definitely based on some knowledge graph, if we can show like which entities are derived, something like that, that also one way. So these are the different ways we can use to basically implement the explainability feature into our application.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, coming to the most pertinent question of the discussion before we go into the rapid fire round. Now, democratization of the agentic AI. Now, trust me, people are very much skeptical. They are hearing a lot, right, around the agentic AI. But still, everyone is skeptical about the coding ability and the technical ability to build the AI agent. Everyone wishes to do that, but somehow they are kind of stuck. They think, okay, I have lost my technical touch long back. I may be having some great idea, right, based on my experience, but I don't know how to implement, how to really, right, get that implemented and get benefit out of it. So my question is, how difficult it is to build our own AI agent? How can we make them feel comfortable, right? That okay, you need not to be a coder, a great coder to do that, right? But you can still build your AI agent even without doing the coding. Or is it really a myth, or you want to bust that myth? Over to you.
Yeah, definitely. Like this is a good question. Like everybody, many people we have in our mind. So first thing is that there are, just keeping this one in mind. Many vendors have created their platform that is a low code, no code platform where no coding is required, like Microsoft Copilot. So there no coding is required. Anybody can build the agents by a set of tools, technique they are choosing. So that is always possible. And it is very easy also. And Microsoft Copilot has a good amount of documentation. Everything is shown, like which tools, which database we can just the rack things. Without any coding, it can be done. Like what documents needs to be vectorized. We have to select that. We have to select the tools, everything. So that is completely, no code platforms are there. Second part, like if somebody has a little bit understanding of the coding, then they can use the true way. There is very, structured formats are there. Only the agent goals, the intention, those are in the natural language needs to be passed and agent will be created. And in the hyperscaler platforms also, those structures, templates are there, agent templates are there, like the summarized agent. You have to only pass the inputs, no coding required. So the agents will be created. That is another thing. And thirdly, I'll say like coding is nowadays is all not also difficult because we have the vibe coding and different
Right.
coding agents are there. So if somebody has the idea and some, yes, but I must say some level of understanding is required because whatever codes are generated, we need to validate it, and
Correct.
definitely after that we need to understand it, then need to implement that. I mean, always I also do, and I also request everybody, suggest everybody, because without understanding we should not copy paste whatever is coming.
Correct.
So that way also definitely we can build our agent like the line graph another way, because we can get the basic code, yeah, but we can just fine tune it and then we can implement. So all
Brilliant.
these methodologies are there.
Yep. And just for everyone, in our next meetup, physical meetup, right, which may be in the last week of May, the dates are not yet announced. So Anindita is going to conduct a workshop where we will be building, the participants will be building, right, our own AI agent, and she's going to help us, right, building that. So I must thank her right in advance, right, for taking that initiative and spreading this awareness, right, across everyone. So just stay tuned for that. Now, the last part of the discussion and the very fun part, so far it has been a very serious conversation, but yeah, you made it really, really lucid for all of us. So let's go into some rapid fire before I open it up for the audience. So, my first question, one word, agentic AI is an opportunity or a risk?
Definitely opportunity.
Thank you. One capability of agentic systems that excites you the most?
That is the tool calling, like multiple tool calling at a single time. Yeah.
Okay. One risk that keeps you up at night?
That is the hallucination.
Okay, if you had to choose speed of innovation or strength of governance, what would be your take?
Always strength of governance.
Okay,
Always.
okay. Human in the loop or human on the loop for the agentic systems?
Always human in the loop. We
Great.
can't do anything without human.
Still, we are relevant then.
Yeah.
Okay. One responsible AI principle that becomes non-negotiable in the agentic systems.
Always trustworthiness.
Excellent. A build first, govern later, or govern by design.
Always governed by design.
More dangerous, biased data or autonomous decision making.
Yeah, but it is a little bit difficult, but yeah, biased data will get the priority. Yeah.
Okay. One role that becomes most critical in the agentic AI world.
That is currently like agentic AI architect or agentic AI orchestrator kind of role. Who knows, like it's not only, as I told, only the coding part. Who knows the system? It's all about the delivering the solution completely. So that's why agentic AI architect or orchestrator is the most needed.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anindita, for these insights. Now, I'll just open it up for the audience, right? If you have any question, feel free to ask. Abhishek, I think I have already answered your question. So the demo and how it is going to be built, right, those will be done in our workshop. So anyone else has any other question? Okay. Yeah, Anshuman. We understand that a govern by design is the way to go, but there are zillions of model running in the world. How we can accommodate those post facto?
So, yeah, definitely models are there, but governed by design means that when we are designing the full application that we are trying to tell. Yes, definitely LLM, that LLM we are using, that is one part. So yeah, there we can use different validation things and we can check and all these things. And but when we are designing the application, that we are telling by governed by design, like checking first few by the red teaming prompt, just checking the robustness of the system once it is designed. When it is designing, like as I told, like the different principles of the things like the explainable AI, and also the algorithms what we are using, all these things should be, and also evaluation system, the observability. So application design we can take care of that. That definitely we should do by governed by design.
Thank you. Excellent. So to wrap up, unless anyone has any question, we started by understanding what makes the system agentic. It's a goal-driven, autonomous, and adaptive, and quickly saw how that autonomy introduces a new class of risk. A few themes that clearly stand out. Autonomy demands accountability clarity. Responsible AI must shift left, right? We have learned about uh, shift left on the testing perspective, quality perspective, security perspective. Now, responsible AI should also be shifting left. Guardrails are not optional, they are foundational. Explainability and observability, as you rightly said, becomes critical in multi-step decision system. And finally, governance must evolve alongside technology. So the final closing thought, agentic AI is not just a technological leap, it's a governance challenge. The organization that succeed will be the ones that design for responsibility as deliberately as they design for the intelligence. So with this, I will thank Anindita for this excellent insight right throughout the session, and thanks audience right for being there, asking questions, and just wait there right for one more month, and you will be getting an opportunity to design your own AI agent. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Shubhabrata, and thank you all the audience